Well, that might have been a short review. It's on fire. I've got to unplug it. Hang on. To do the Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2 video, but just before we start, check out this spooky spider we've got going in here. I don't want to get too close in case he jumps on my face, but yeah, Australian spiders, not very fun. But let's do it. Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. G'day, Stu from UAV Futures here, and today, well, what we're going to be doing is a bit of a disaster. I can't believe this happened. This drone right here, stay tuned if you like to see drones going underwater. Me crying because what we're checking out, this is the Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. This is a follow-up to the very, very popular Freestyle 1. And essentially what this is, it is a little ripper you take out of the box, and it is made for that playground, park flying, small environments, not for indoors. What we're going to do in this video, we are very quickly going to put it on the bench, break it down, look at the text and the specs, and then the fun stuff we're going to get out of the field. You're going to see my one flight, and then we're going to see disaster happens. And I know this video was meant to be released a little while ago, but of course it is hard to review these products, Stuart, when you slam them underneath some water. So it definitely doesn't work that well anymore. Mine kind of caught on fire. We'll see all this coming up in the video. But what we're going to do, let's do it now. The text and the specs, we'll quickly do the bench stuff, and then we're going to go have some fun and also see some Australian spiders as well. But if we stick it on the scales, we tear that off right there. Mine is coming in at 53 grams. It's not the lightest, it's also not the heaviest. It's got little 2.5 A-band props on the outside. If we start our way on the outside, work our way towards the middle, of course you can see it just has a unibody frame and 2.5 A-bands on the outside, a fairly standard prop, 1103 motors with 7,000 kV underneath that. I find the power was adequate. It wasn't mind-blowing or anything like that, and I did probably prefer the form factor of the Emax Race, which you can go watch that video as well, but I can see some people might prefer this little freestyle version. Moving towards the middle, we have our 4-in-1 ESC. It's BioHeli S. It's 15 amps, nothing too amazing right there. And on top, we just have our normal VTX, which this time is a little bit better because it can go 25, 100, or 200 milliwatts. And I really like it stays on 25 milliwatts until you arm your quad. And then once you arm your quad, it boosts up to whatever power level that you've set it at. So I really like that. It stops the VTX from burning out. Just all around a good practice. Of course, towards the back, we have, I don't know if this is going to be in shot. I don't really like this bit too much. We just have some two little 1S connectors. Now, considering this is going to be an outdoor drone most of the time, I would have preferred just an XT30 connector, but this way it does let you use your two 1S 450 packs that come with it as well. I'll put a picture on the screen of that. And then towards the front, we have our RunCam Nano 2. So quite a nice FPV camera at the front. Now, if we talk about the design of the thing, I gotta say it's okay. I probably prefer the design of the Emax Race 2. I feel like that little pod shape is gonna fly better. It's gonna feel better. I have limited experience on this one because you're about to see the disaster that happens when I take mine off for a flight. But the design, you feel like maybe with the batteries on top, it gets a little bit top heavy because you can see that'd be sitting up quite a fair way. And also there is no real antenna solutions on here. Like, I mean, here's the video VTX right there. That thing is just flopping around. It's not zip tied down at all. The same could almost be said when it comes to your, here we go. When it comes to your SPI receiver that it's got inbuilt, so combined up to your D8 or whatever you're going to use on your FrSky Raiders. These antennas, Emax kind of just solders them on and then, yep, that's it. And then it's up to you as the consumer to put them in the correct place. I would prefer if this came with even a little TPU mount, even a little special zip tie cutout, somewhere a little bit more guidance on how actually to mount these antennas, because I can see some beginners picking this thing up and, well, they might go for a flight, cut their antenna off, they don't know how to solder too well, they're out of the air, they're not going to be having any luck whatsoever. So please, Emax, I would like to see a little bit more thought when it comes to your antenna design or how you're going to be holding those. If we talk about the quality of the thing, well, Emax, besides the flight experience, which we'll talk about as well, I gotta say Emax makes some really high quality stuff. Consistently, they have been performing when it comes to all their Hawk versions, all the Tiny Hawks, all the Pro Hawks, all the Racing Hawks, all the Hawks that Emax has been making. They make great stuff to make good value eco motors. I have no qualms whatsoever with Emax. They seem very, very reliable most of the time. Now this one, it's very hard to talk about because, well, I dunked it underwater. The pros and the cons. Mine only lasted one flight, but that's not really this quad's flight. Two, I don't like the battery connector, and also the other little bit is the antennas here. I'm not the biggest fan of how they're mounted. They're kind of all over the shop. And number three, and this one's a bit of a biggie for me, the default, not the tune, the default rate setup was kind of disgusting out of the box. It felt like I was flying a marshmallow, you know, really it just wasn't a good experience for me. Now, maybe I'm a more experienced pilot. I'm looking for something else. We'll see this in the flight footage, but it caused me to sort of go in there and change some things on the fly. And as a result, my error, things went downhill very, very quickly. The positives, I mean, it's well priced. It's very, very quiet. It's not going to upset anybody. You can still do some full-on freestyle with this, and it's going to be a lot of fun for the person who picks one of these up. They might just want to scream around. Its probably biggest competitor is going to be the Emax Race 2. So this and that are very, very similar quads. But what we should do now, let's go out to the field, rip it around, have some fun, and also some disasters with the Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. In 3, 2, 1. Radio out here in the field. Let's do it with the Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. We're at their in-laws place. We'll show you some DVR. Of course, no GoPro or anything like that. We've seen it on the bench. Let's do it. And I'm got to say, I'm pretty excited because in the test hovers I've been doing it looks like it has plenty of power. But let's put it through its paces and find out just how well it goes in 3, 2, 1. Boop. Rightio, so I want everything we say in this review to be taken with a grain of salt because I really like to do more flying around with my drones, really put them through its paces, but that wasn't the case with this one because you're about to see some disaster happen, and I want to say it's not entirely my fault. Like there's some things that the Tiny Hawk 2 Freestyle, it made me do it. That's my excuse. That's what I'm sticking to. The camera's great. We'll talk about that. The reception, the range, all that sort of stuff. I really didn't actually have an issue with. You know, you be the judge. I think this was a very overcast day. It looks fine. I'm more than happy for this to be the micro range and the footage, all that sort of stuff. The part I have a problem with was who this quad was made for and how it actually feels. So it's meant to be the freestyle, right? You're meant to be able to rip it around, do some cool stuff out of the box. As it comes out of the box, I felt like the tune was just... there was no oscillations or anything, but it felt so clunky. The amount of expo, the amount of, I guess, deadband in the middle of the sticks made it tricky for me to try to learn how to fly. Like here I went up, I thought, right, that might be a full deflection to the right. It felt very, very slow in terms of its responsiveness on the sticks, and it just wasn't suited for my type of flying. And I understand, I've been flying drones for 5 years. I might have some preferences that I am more... just preferential to, if that's the way of putting it. And this is probably suited at beginners a little bit more, and that's what Emax is all about, getting people into the hobby. But for me, I just found it way too tricky trying to fly this thing around on its default. Maybe there's a different setting or something I wish I could go into. I can't because, look, mine's gone. You'll see the disaster. Mine's been underwater and it just doesn't even work anymore. But yeah, out of the box, I was expecting a little bit more. So I don't know who set it up, but for me, that was the biggest letdown. I much prefer the default feeling that came with the Tiny Hawk Race 2. I thought that was much better. This one, you can see here, even struggling to try and fly it in a straight line, I'm bobbling all over the place. It makes me look like an amateur pilot, and that might be the case, but normally I would think I could fly a little bit better. So for me, I actually found this is probably one of the hardest quads I've flown in a while, simply because of the rate profile just wasn't gelling with me at all. And then we're going to go in, and you'll see, of course, I tried to adjust some rates on the fly because I didn't have a laptop out here. I thought, well, this expo is definitely far too much. We'll try to change that. We'll try to change the RC rate, and well, I'll let you be the judge and see exactly what happens. Righto, we've just seen some DVR flights, but one thing I want to make apparent is I hate the tune or the rate setup that is on this. I don't know who it is made for, but when I'm trying to fly, the amount of deflection you might have seen, I was pretty much going from like there to there. You are doing that much of your, let's see if we can get a better angle of this much of your stick doesn't do anything. So it just does like the smallest movements. The amount of expo on here is counterintuitive. I understand it's probably made for beginners, but it doesn't feel responsive at all to fly when it's like that. It's like trying to fly with a marshmallow stuck in your gimbals. So I don't know. I'm going to try and change the rates and we'll see how it goes again. You know, this, you can go in here, just, I thought I might include this part too. Don't put these settings on the screen, but here I'm changing my expo, all that sort of stuff, changing the RC expo, and yeah, you'll see what happens. I'm sure you can guess. Right, so here we go, and be advised there are some ponds up here, which you'll see here is a little bit of a, oh yeah, it seems so, whoa, no, this is actually the amount of degrees per second it was turning. It was way too much, and now it's time to go find it. I have a feeling based on that DVR, we might have to do a slow-mo. I might have put the rates up just a little bit too much. The expo was still there, but I'll blame myself on that one. Just I should have done it on Betaflight. Didn't have my computer here, but I feel like we may have just ended up in one of these ponds. So we're going to try and find the drone, but we will see what happens. It's just as we feared, boys and girls. So, check this out. Well, down here at the pond, know if you guys can see that. That is, well, that might have been a short review. Ah, it's on fire. I've got to unplug it. Hang on, it's melting. Whew. Oh, Jesus. What are they doing with these connectors? Okay, well, there's my short review of the Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. I could not stand the rate setup. It felt like I did have some power and it did feel smooth, no oscillations, the camera was great. The range issues are about as standard that you can expect from these type of SPI receivers. That's not my favorite part, but yeah, the tune and me not having a laptop out here, I think, I don't know, maybe for beginner pilots, but I can't really test it too much more. So I am sorry, Emax, about that one. Just looks like it didn't go our way today, and this one has caught on fire. So not too sure which bit was burning. Anyway, you win some, and this one, we definitely did lose some. Radio, so there it is. There's my review of No G'day. Yeah, no, we're not saying G'day. Radio. So there it is. There's my review of the Emax Tiny Hawk Freestyle 2. I've got my little assistant here. It's the afternoon. We're kind of hanging out, but we're getting some work done. There's my review, the Emax Tiny Hawk 2, and I got to say, overall, it's okay. I probably prefer the Emax Race. Can we stop that, please? And a bit of a shame about this one. It went underwater, so it's very hard for me to make a definitive review and say this one's good, this one's bad, this one's bad, this one's bad, based on one flight. So I'd love to know what you guys think. Emax, please. I would like the default tune that comes out of this to not be quite so docile. It probably made it quite difficult. I actually found it difficult to fly based on all the expo and stuff that they put in here. So I don't know, maybe I'm just the wrong audience for it. Other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content, and I think we're about to go to the park, but other than that, subscribe for more FPV related content, and as always, happy flying.
Happy flying.
Yeah, happy flying. What's on you? Show me your watch. What's that?
I think we're not running late.
We're not running late. What is that watch? That looks like an Eachine video watch.
Well, it doesn't take videos.
Doesn't take videos?
Take pictures.
Okay.
Say cheese.
Cheese.